Folks, how's everybody doing? We got two things today. Oh, sorry, hold on. The thumbs down will not arrive if we do not show the flesh and blood. Anyways. And we got a really cool. So we're trying to catch up here on the collection box opening things. There's about 15 of them in the queue. So we are going to do two today. So first, let's start with the flesh and blood. Let's start with the Black Lotus. Remember, folks, I finally started buying Flesh and Blood Monarch cold foils. You guys know this is like my favorite artwork ever. Holy smokes. Hold on. Take a moment to appreciate Rudy's favorite artwork ever. Please take a moment. That is by far absolutely super awesome. Anyway, so I have started buying Monarch cold foils after now that the market is showing signs of stability. So if you want to get rid of your Monarch cold foils or any Flesh and Blood cold foils, AlphainvestmentsLLC at gmail.com. I am paying between 50 and 60% of eBay sold, plus paying the shipping. So if you sell on your own, usually you'll net about 80% post-shipping fees, all that fun stuff, and you're looking between 50 and 60% depending what. So it's about 20% difference in selling on your own. Okay, that's Flesh and Blood. So I want to talk about, this is kind of the interesting one of this video today. First of all, look at this. The guy bought this card, Black Glows, 20 years ago for $80. And he says he already bought it damaged. Serving well in many casual multiplayer games from the vaults. We're all per se. This is there's some sealed product, but I also want to show you guys in this. He sold me some from the vaults, some Blackthorn games he got in Tennessee, huh? The only LGS in the area that weren't selling them big online. Okay, interesting. With the anime art deck, I simply miscalculated the supply and demand ratio. Never. Oh, see that he's talking about the dual deck of the. Sorry, I don't have that with me on the sealed product. That's the I think it was the Jace anime dual deck from a long time ago that Wizards did. It was actually pretty interesting. But yes, the supply and demand was out of whack. So I want to show you guys, this is the basic letter. I won't go through the whole thing if you guys want to read the details on there. Mostly the interesting thing on this video was he had a played slash, a little rough actual Black Lotus Collector's Edition that he wanted to sell. So like I said, I had no problems paying the played condition, everything, and obviously it's not mint and brand new. We've got gold wear on the edge. We've got literally some of the corners missing there. We've got definitely love on the back. You can tell back. Remember, that's the thing with collector's edition cards. They're so hard to get in packed fresh condition. The gold, if you just handle it, the gold comes off. If you play with these, the edges have that distinctive whitening, and you can tell on this particular card we found an issue. Unfortunately, in the corner. There it is. You guys see it? Get Rudy's tool in the video. You guys see it? Recolored. See the black Sharpie? Right there. Right across it. And that was, again, on black bordered, Alpha Beta, Arabian Nights, Legends Antiquities, and of course in Collector's Edition cards. On Beta cards, you always got to look out for rebacks for Alpha Beta. And of course, you always got to look out for the inking. And of course, we have a lot of ink. It almost looks purple. The ink doesn't even look black on that. It looks like somebody almost like a blue pen. Maybe they didn't have a black pen. Maybe they just did a blue pen on that. So unfortunately, it is considered a damaged card because it's inked. Remember that. The reason why stores, and again, including myself, consider these things, any form of ink on it, like we've talked about in the past in other videos, you cannot fix it. Once there's inking or any form of actual modification of the card, you can never, ever grade the card till the end of time. If you send it in to Beckett or PSA, you get the infamous authentic altered. They won't grade it. They kick it back. So it becomes, it's very problematic to many people who are into that, even grading lower. Because a lot of people don't mind buying a PSA 6 or 7. There is even a market out there. No joke, folks. I know a couple people who are trying to get like a collector's edition Black Lotus in every single PSA. Like they want to make a PSA 1, PSA 2, 3. They want a 1 through 10 of all the PSA graded Black Lotuses. Like think about it, a collector's edition card, and they want PSA of every grade of the card. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of, there's some fun things out there like that. Believe it or not, it's probably the hardest to get the perfect 10. And it's also the hardest to probably get like a 3 or a 2. You have to kind of, I don't know, that seems like it'd be kind of difficult. So again, things like that, still buying, love them. People ask me all the time, Rudy, you don't talk about collector's edition much. You don't talk about, the gold board. I was like, look, even to this day, yes, I'm at probably just under 20 sets of collector's edition and ice and all that. I'm just not a huge fan of collector's edition. I don't like the pointy corners. The pointy corners are a pain. They're very sensitive. I don't like the gold backing, how it wears off. And I'm just not a fan of it. I understand the importance of it. I think they're cool, but at the end of the day, it's just not where my passion lies. I still like them. I believe very adamantly in them in long term as a collectible and an investment and a very good fun thing to play in place of alpha beta cards, but it's just not where my passion is. It's the same thing with like Portal 3 Kingdoms. It's not that the Portal sets are bad. They're not reserve lists, but again, they're just not my favorite. They don't connect with me on that particular level. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I understand the business side of it. So I just want to really talk about that. Other thing is here, we're going to jump back over to this. So I want to share, so again, remember, in Monarch here, you've got the Cold Foil Commons. This one, there's no rare. This is a Cold Foil actual Majestic, not Mythic. I know everyone still says that. The old Dustbane on there. And I want to comment a little bit on the actual state of the cold foils and everything. I have just started, literally just started now that I feel the market has bottomed and stabilized. I have now started to buy cold foil single cards in Monarch. Again, if you're looking to get out, if you're looking to raise money, you want a safe way, walk away, same thing. If you have really good, certain particular ones I'm after, you're looking at 60% of eBay sold. If you're looking at kind of commons or basic stuff, be 51, maybe 52% of eBay sold, depending on what range and depending on how many you have and depending where you're located and the condition, blah, blah, blah. But I do feel that it's just the bearishness of it has been so bad for so long. I don't quite think it's being properly priced. Similar to how a lot of people always felt that these collector's edition cards were way underpriced for like 20 years. Because remember, collector's edition cards and collector's edition Magic sets were cheap forever. Like, I'm talking, like, when these things came out in the late 90s, they stayed cheap for, like, 15 to 20 years. Like, it wasn't until probably, like, 2015 and forward that collector's edition sets really started to go up in value. I mean, it took a very long time. And it's funny, remember, and people are judging the Monarch thing, and, like, folks, it's been 3 months, not 15 years. It's been 3 months, folks. Calm down. People are so obsessed with that short-term, quick flip money, this, that. They just got to use sometimes the best way to invest and collect things is to do nothing at all and just live your life and enjoy the hobby and let nature take its course. So that's about it. I wanted to share these two particular things in today's video. Actually, well, hold on a second, off camera. I do have one more thing we're going to add here. I was going to put this in the next one, but you know what? I want to talk about this. So we also have a small, I did purchase a cradle here. Gia's cradle from, I think this was a patron? I think it was, no, I don't remember. No, I think this was just a regular non-patron. So we did buy a cradle today. Well, 3 days ago. It was interesting. This was an interesting situation because the buy list on cradles they peaked at like $900 a card for a buy list on a cradle. And then the buy list on the cradle went to around $800 to $700, which is when I agreed to buy this card. And unfortunately, we had some delays and some issues, and by the time the deal went through, now, like for example, the buy list is down to $600. So you can see the price retracement and erosion on even some really higher end tier cards like cradles. Cradles I consider are pretty, academies and cradles and cards like this from the Saga era. The Grim Monoliths, the Drakes. These things are no joke, man. I wouldn't quite say they're tier 1 like Power 9, but these things they're very strong tier 2. They're not no tier 3, Stone Calendar, Narwhal stuff. But, cradles and things they still have, even if you're paying on eBay full $1,000 a card. I'm telling you all, the same conversation I had years ago when I just went on eBay and TCG Player and started buying one Bizarre Baghdad every couple days for like 6 months in a row. And, because even just on the open market, full price, because I felt it was underpriced and I wanted to put my money where my mouth was. And I do feel, many people talk about, cradle, I've always wanted cradles and I got to wait and they're too expensive. And, everything's going to be relative. In another 5-10 years from now, people talking about cradles for even under $1,000 or even at $1,000 is going to be deemed as a very, can you remember those days, how cheap they were? To even 2021, no one even ever thought that, alpha beta era cards would be as high as they are. And, time has a funny way of tricking our brains and price memory and, it's too expensive, I'm never doing it now. Life has a funny way of doing that. I bought an alpha flesh and blood Rudy kit that I sold for $250 back from a patron Literally the same kit I bought back from Patron a couple months ago for 10 grand. Yeah, the guy, he paid me $250 and I gave him 10 grand to get it back. You know, life sometimes has a really funny way of working out. It really has a cheesy way, in a humbling way, in a way of really kind of testing you at times. And there's times that you can't look at what the price used to be. You can't say, oh, I could have bought that house in that nice neighborhood for $300,000. And now it's like $800,000. I can never afford that. Well, you know, maybe one day, or someone else says, well, I've always wanted this little condo for 200 grand. And now it's 300 grand. I can still afford it, but it's a ripoff. I'm not buying. You got to remember, it's all relative. You know, you can't use price memory to hold yourself back on doing future transactions, deals, collections, you know, stocks or equities, or even the bond market, which I guess isn't really much of a thing with the low interest rates. Hopefully it will be one day. You know, and just real estate's a great example of that. Crypto is a great example of that. You know, I hear it in all the categories across the board. Everything's relative. And sure, after you buy it, you may have bad luck and you just buy it and it drops and you lose 20%. But in the big, long picture, it's really not that big of a deal. It feels bad, but it's really not life-altering. It doesn't change anything. It just kind of gives you short-term little bit of remorse. But in 10, 50, if you buy a $300,000 condo, you know, or let's just stick with the cradle. If you buy a Gia's, don't say Gaia's cradle, it's Gia's cradle. You buy a Gia's cradle right now for $1,200 near mint, okay? All right, no. $1,500 near mint, okay? You paid for this card. Let's say this is a gem mint pack fresh, which it's close. I think this is a light play near mint. This is a near mint. This is pretty nice. Let's say you pay $1,500 on eBay. You buy for the most expensive, or your girl buys it for you. Your family member gives it for you. You spend $1,500 on it. Market crashes in the next end of 2021. Market drops. Gia's cradle goes from $1,500 to $800. Are you really going to be upset and just dump it? You're going to contact creepy Rudy and say, fine, Rudy, give me $500. I can't deal with it. Are you really going to do that? Now, if you need the money because some major personal life event with food or shelter or job, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about just, are you going to feel bad and just dump it and lock in the loss? Why would you do that? You know, if you need money, that's a different conversation. If you want the money to do something else and you're rolling it and you're using, that's not the conversation I'm talking about. Even if you paid $1,500, and then it tanks down to, you know, $500. You know, in 5-10 years from now, when it climbs back and goes even higher and hits a new high of 2,000-3,000, you're going to look back and say, wow, I guess it really didn't matter if I paid $1,500 or if I paid $1,200 or if I paid $800, because if the card is $3,000, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing with real estate. Well, golly, I didn't want to buy that condo for 300 grand, and so I thought it was going to go back down. So, well, anyways, I paid 300 grand because I sucked it up. And now after I bought my condo for 300 grand, it dropped to 250. I lost 20%. Okay. 10 years from now, it's selling for 500,000. And then at that point in time, are you really going to care if your $500,000 condo, if you paid 250 or 300? No, it doesn't make a difference. You can't time the market perfectly. You can't get the bottom, and you're never going to perfectly time the top or the bottom. It's all about market capture. Okay, but Rudy, I bought Bitcoin at 64,000 all-time high. Okay, what's your point? I had a lot of patrons buy flesh and blood and magic from me and paid me in Bitcoin at the all-time high. What's your point? Well, Rudy, you know, Bitcoin tanked 50%. Ethereum tanked 50%. Okay, so I still have it. And actually, Ethereum and Cardano and all the other ones, they're just staking, getting interest, actually. They've been doing quite well. Well, aren't you worried? Well, not really. I have people buying things now and paying me in today's prices. Okay, well, in 5 years from now, if it's up to 100 or 200,000 or bazillion bazinga dollars, you're not going to care. That's the point of the ramble, is people are so obsessed with the short-term pennies, they lose the dollars. And if you believe in the product, you believe in the crypto, you believe in the condo, you believe in the magic card, you believe in the flesh and blood card, you believe in MetaZoo, you believe in currency, stamps, you know, large vibrating toys, whatever you believe in, if you believe the product or item is worth it, then you need to go by that. And you can't let short-term swings, you know, make you live in fear. And, you know, if you do, you're going to have analysis paralysis. You're going to sit back and you're not going to do crap and you're going to regret everything in your life. Anyway, so that's my speech. end the video. Remember, as always, if you want fancy cards, you want to be on the channel, AlphainvestmentsLLC at gmail.com. There's also an email link below. Remember, I do not comment below. I don't use WhatsApp and all these scammer things. I don't use Facebook. I don't use social media. Anyone posing or telling you different information, addresses, locations, anything, it is a scam. You will lose your money or your cards. The only thing authentic is the address in this description and the email in the description, or, of course, if you're a patron, the private message. There is no other way to contact me. It is a scam. Have a great day. Be safe out there.